Just buy.
We're gonna have a bigger bet. We're gonna have £1 million.
You want to do £1 million on Conor Benn
in escrow tomorrow morning?
He has a lot.
I'm telling you now, £1 million in escrow tomorrow morning.
On what?
On what? On the fight.
You're going to bet £1 million
in escrow tomorrow morning.
£1 million on the line as Eubank Jr. calls Eddie Hearn's bluff. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn are about to settle their family feud on April 26th. This fight brings more than just boxing skills to the ring. It's got a shocking £1 million bet, 2 weight classes of difference, and the continuation of their father's legendary rivalry. What started as promoter talk has become the most personal fight of the year.
Come on, Eddie. £1 million, eh? Okay. Let's find out if you're a man of your word or just a lying hype job. I formally accept your £1 million bet. And the £1 million will be our own personal money. Not company money or purse money, just a straight up bet between me and you. The money will go into escrow, and the winner takes all.
If you want to see more boxing breakdowns like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this massive showdown. The £1 million bet just took a shocking turn when Ben Shalom jumped into the conversation. He's been doing his homework and confirmed this bet can actually happen, just not the way Eddie first pitched it.
That bet, and I've looked into it, that bet can go ahead between the promoters as a promoter bonus.
Really?
So, for me, Eddie made that bet, Eddie made that offer. Whether we call it a bonus, whatever we want to do.
Shalom isn't backing down either. He made it crystal clear. We're on. I'm on. There's a way to do it. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. has completely turned the tables on Eddie Hearn, making him look like a fraud. Instead of backing down from the bet, Eubank Jr. went all in, calling Hearn out and expecting him to squirm his way out of it like a coward. The pressure is now suffocating for Hearn. If he backs out now, it won't just be embarrassing. It'll be a career-defining humiliation that the boxing world won't forget. Simon Jordan didn't hold back when he exposed Eddie Hearn's £1 million bet disaster. He ripped into Hearn for not even understanding the rules of his own sport.
He gave it the big one to try and diminish Ben, didn't he? He tried to make Ben look silly by offering him £1 million bet. And apparently, Eddie doesn't know the governance of his own sport. As a promoter, a licensed promoter, he can't bet. And so, of course, Chris has called him out. And now Eddie, being the master snake oil salesman that he is suggesting that it's a conspiracy theory that people want him to take the bet so he can get fined on his license. Nonsense!
This wasn't just a small slip-up. It was a complete embarrassment for Hearn, who thought he was the smartest person in the room. Jordan exposed how Hearn is a slick talker trying to sell a lie, now desperately trying to spin the story to save face. What should have been Hearn's power move turned into his most humiliating moment, with nowhere to hide and his credibility in tatters. Eddie Hearn might be struggling with the bet situation, but he's not blind to the dangerous reality facing Conor Benn in this fight. The weight difference between these fighters is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't gonna blink in this one.
This isn't just promoter talk, it's a serious concern. Ben is walking straight into potential disaster by jumping up 2 weight classes. At his natural weight, he'd likely dominate, but now he's gambling with his career. The moment Eubank Jr. starts using his size advantage, his reach, power, and sheer durability, Ben could find himself drowning. One wrong move, and it could be lights out. Hearn knows this when he says, "You ain't going to blink in this one." The burning question remains, will Ben's skill and heart be enough to overcome this mountain of a challenge, or will the physics of boxing prove too much to handle? Carl Frampton isn't sugarcoating the brutal reality of weight cutting that could define this fight. He's raising serious red flags about Eubank Jr.'s ability to make weight without destroying himself in the process.
It's quite difficult sometimes, especially if you're dry like Chris Eubank. He will struggle to stay within that 10-pound limit. I have a feeling he won't do it. I have a feeling he'll agree to it, he'll pay a fine, and maybe weigh in 15 or 16 pounds over. But
who did he fight recently and he looked like he was completely dead at the weight?
Yeah, last fight.
Was it Liam Smith, the first one?
Yeah.
He looked he looked awful.
Brutal. And that's how hard it is to make. That's why I think it's kind of... The rehydration clause puts things slightly more into Conor Benn's favour, which is unfair.
Eubank is walking a dangerous line. If the weight cut drains him, this fight could backfire spectacularly. Will his body hold up, or will he be a shadow of himself before the first bell even rings? It's official. Mark April 26th on your calendars, because the showdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn is finally happening. After all the drama, trash talk, and heated exchanges, these two fighters will finally settle their differences in the ring. The announcement came with little fanfare but massive implications.
Turkey wants that fight, so the fight's gonna happen.
That's him just selling it to the media that I pulled up on him while he's wagering. And most people will fall for it.
Conor Benn said to us that will be his next fight. Is that it now? Next fight is going to be Conor Benn for you, Chris.
As long as he gets his license back, the fight's next.
This isn't just another boxing match. It's a grudge fight, fueled by years of family history and personal beef. Ben is fighting for redemption and to clear his name, while Eubank Jr. comes in with all the confidence in the world, knowing this could be the defining moment of his career. The stakes couldn't be higher for both men. One will walk away vindicated, the other potentially humiliated. Every jab, hook, and cross will carry the weight of their legacies and family names. The Eubank-Ben rivalry runs deeper than just Chris Jr. and Conor. It's a family saga that spans generations, and Adam Cattell didn't hesitate to dig into this explosive dynamic.
And Chris Eubank Sr. was pushing very hard for that should be the fight with the Ben family, not his son,
Harlem.
Chris Eubank.
Listen, go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say that we could well see a Ben Eubank 4 if Ben succeeds in a way against Chris Eubank, or...
This fight isn't happening in isolation. It's the continuation of a boxing legacy that began with their fathers. The hypocrisy isn't lost on observers. With Eubank Sr. pushing for fights he won't let his son handle. Meanwhile, Joe Gallagher highlighted Chris Jr.'s ongoing struggle to escape his father's shadow.
But Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
But the truth reveals a deeper conflict. I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him. Despite his independence, having his father witness his success would mean everything. A painful reality he can't escape as he fights for his own identity.
Maybe a very disappointing fight if we find out when Chris steps in there against Conor that he is much, much too big for him. But I think they'll play 12 rounds, and I think we'll get 2 fights. I just have this weird feeling about it.
It's a battle for identity, legacy, and redemption for both men. If you want to catch all the latest updates on this explosive showdown, hit subscribe now and never miss another breakdown.